Go ahead.
Ready to stand.
Oh.
It is now 6:13 PM, and I call this meeting of the LaFreda Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Please stand.
Please bow your head. Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us together today. Grant us wisdom, compassion, and integrity in all that we do. Help us to work together with respect and always keep the well-being of our children at the center of our efforts. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mrs. Montalvo. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2026, and May 28th, 2026? A motion by Mrs. Montalvo. Do I have a second? Second by Mr.
It's only you two.
Biondi. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. 4-0, excuse me. I'm assuming no one signed up for public comment. The first information item is discussion of the comprehensive needs assessment for 25-26.
Thank you, Board President. Tonight, we're going to present the comprehensive needs assessment. We did review this at the DPC on Thursday night, and that was presented, and I know Ms. Martinez and Ms. Montalvo were there at that time. But we will go over that. Ms. Garza will take care of goal 1. I'll take care of goal 2, 3, and 5, and then Ms. Ramos will take care of goal 4. So please stop us at any time if you have questions, but if not, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Garza for goal 1.
So goal 1 is to show progress towards closing the achievement gap.
And you do have a copy, I'm sorry, you do have a copy of goal 1 because sometimes the numbers are a little bit hard, so we gave you a hard copy of goal 1.
The first two slides demonstrate how the accountability system is broken down depending whether it's elementary, middle school, and high school. We're gonna go and actually look at the actual STAR data to see how we're doing. Notice that it's color-coded, so you can see the 26 and the 25 and the 24. If you look at the purple components, you'll be able to see how they compare year to year from approaches. The blue highlighting the meets level and the masters highlighting in green. You can also see at the bottom, right below the percentage, that it tells you the number of students. So for example, in 3rd grade reading, this year we had 68% of our students at the approaches level, which is 121 out of 177. If you compare it to the previous year, it's at 72. It appears that it went down a little bit, but if we look at cohorts, in 25, those 3rd graders are now in 4th grade. So going into the 2026, you see in 4th grade that 74%. So you can kind of see how that 72 is now at a 74. So more of our students are being successful at the approach level. When you look at the blue, you can also do that comparison, that 43% to that 45%. Cohort-wise, you also see that slight increase from 43 to that 45. And when you look at the 5th grade, that 76% at approaches, cohort-wise, you do see that slight dip from that 85 in 4th grade to that 76. You can also see the similar patterns at the meets and the master's level. So you see that 45% for 3rd grade and compared to that 43% in the previous year. But cohort-wise, you also see that same increase. You do see a slight increase at the master's level. I'm going to give you a little bit of time if you have any questions to look at it.
So, I'm sorry, Ms. Garza, you mentioned that, okay, so 6th grade got a, 6th grade, hold on.
So
Third grade
sixth
got a
grade
six-
is in middle school?
Third grade got, I know, hello. Third grade got a 68. And what did the fourth grade get, I'm sorry? The 74?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
For
okay.
approaches.
Got it,
So-
okay, got it, okay. So there was an increase. Got it, okay, thank you.
Ma'am, real quick, just to make sure I'm looking at this correctly, let's say, for example, fourth grade in 2025, the approaches is 85%. That's not the same group of kids, correct?
So the fourth grade, the approaches, the
For
85
2025, the
The
85%,
85 is the same as they're now in fifth grade this year.
76.
So that would be the 76.
Okay, so we're going across. Got you.
And you can see, we had 201 tests as fourth graders, 211 tests as fifth graders. So for the most part, I would say when you look at cohort, it's probably 80 to 90% the same kids, you know, but you do have a few changes. But for the most part, 80 to 90%, it's the same kids that are testing from year to year.
I know math was a concern because of the new adoption, the blue bonnet. Was there a difference regarding the test, the reading test? Was it the same as last year?
I've been looking at the raw score conversion tables. I didn't look to that detail,
Okay.
but there has been some higher increases
Okay.
from the previous year.
Okay,
Do you want to talk about, just briefly, about the open-ended responses and how much of the test that is, and that's something we're looking at?
And so,
Is that for reading or is that for math?
that's really for the science and the social
Okay,
studies.
never mind.
But one of the big components there, and that's one thing that we are looking into, is the impact that the extended constructed response has on these assessments. And so that's part of the plan that we are looking into.
I'm gonna, as we go along, if you'll pass this down, we haven't received state and region results. I did have a superintendent reach out to me and ask me for my scores, and she asked 7 other districts. And so these are scores, and it doesn't say the district name because right now they're preliminary. We haven't received science, and they're still grading some of the essays. And so nobody really wanted to share the scores, but this is basically where they are. So you can see, and I will tell you, for us, we are District 1 on this particular sheet. So as you look at that, you can kind of see where we fell with 8 other neighboring schools, just for your information.
When I was going over this, I saw that our masters increased from 2024, and we'll take third grade to masters in fourth grade to masters in fifth grade, because that would be the cohort, right? But what also concerned me was how many were non-approaches from, especially in fifth grade, because we started with 157, then 171, now we're at 160 at the 76%. So it was like, how many did not even,
So you're saying
Yeah,
that we
going
have
through the-
24% that didn't even get to approaches?
right, to approaches. So that would be,
A
my
concern.
focus, yeah. That would be something to,
You're talking about fifth grade, right?
I'm talking about, yeah.
Just the cohort in
Yeah,
general.
but,
Right,
yeah,
okay,
just
got it.
the cohort. But we didn't, we have more students that
Right,
moved up
yeah.
into the masters,
From the
which is awesome.
22 to 28
Yes.
to 34.
Yes,
But
in the number, but
we're still having a lot of struggling
the,
to get to the
right,
approaches.
to the non,
They're not factors. Got it.
yeah.
And we're gonna look a little deeper this year in regards to that breakdown of those assessments.
So one of the things, and again, we're meeting with the principals on the 15th, next Monday, but I gave you a draft of, based upon what we have looked at the scores, these are month-by-month initiatives that we think, this is what we have to do. I know we've already discussed it, I know principals are already, making some changes, doing some different things. But by no means, as we go through scores and you see math, I think all the principals can say, this is not where we want to be. And we're gonna continue to work with that. So we'll continue.
So this is also for reading. This is the middle school, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, the same color coding that you can see. If you're looking at cohort-wise for sixth grade, we're first looking at sixth grade, 67%. in the approaches, which is that purple compared to that 68%, from the previous year. That cohort though, that 68% in 2025 in sixth grade is now in seventh grade. Notice that increase, that slight increase of 4%. And looking at cohort-wise of last year's seventh graders, where they were at 70% in 2025, that purple, bringing, as you compare it to that 72%. And even just seventh grade to seventh grade, you do see that increase from 70 to 72.
Right.
Similar, again, looking at the blue, you can see that 45 compared to that 48, and you can see that 41 compared to that 46, and you do see a slight drop as well from that 54 to that 45 at the meets level. And you see that the similar patterns happening in the masters as well.
You know, we were very concerned when we started with Bluebonnet, like you said, and we were concerned what was going to happen. When we got the results back, you know, in reading also, and just overall, it is not where we want to be, you know. Yes, we can see that we have certain gains in areas, but when we're used to last year, you know, having 3 elementaries that scored much higher, you know, junior high moving from the year before and going up, and high school, it's just, we have to go back, and that's why we've already started planning to say, what are we gonna do? Because we have to be real about what the scores are and where we are and what we have to do.
So this is math, and again, we did implement a new curriculum, Bluebonnet. Noticing again, third grade, that 66 in 2025 compared to that 61 in 2026. Cohort-wise, if you look from 2025, those third graders who are now in fourth, going into fifth, you can see that 66 to that 69. So you do see an increase cohort-wise in from third going into fourth.
And even in fourth grade, the 35 to 49 and the 12 masters to 26. So overall, in both reading and math, our fourth grade was pretty strong. When you look at the 8 districts that I shared with you, and you look at fourth grade, you can see that we have some of the higher scores in the fourth grade, and the top couple of them compared to other ones. You know, some of the other, there's a couple in reading that's higher, but if you look at our fourth grade math, there's only 1 district or 2 districts, so we're like third when it comes to math.
Just like the fifth grade was a concern in reading, it's also a concern in math. You can kind of see that 84 compared to that 75 cohort-wise, and that 64 to that 43 in the blue from 2025 going into 2026. You can also see it across from 73 in 2025 in purple to that 75 in purple for fifth grade. And you see that same pattern from 41 to 43, and it kind of was stable at the master's level, 19 and 18.
So the cohort went down, but if you compare groups, this group in fifth grade did a little bit better in math than last year's fifth grade.
This is at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in Algebra 1. So this is middle school. So you can see that in 2025, that 68% at the approaches level in purple compared to that 61 also in purple. And you do see that also it meets 32 to 25, and you can also see it by cohort. Now, if you see it by cohort, it looks different. When you see that 68% in the 6th grade, as you move on to the 7th grade at 25%. Within the last 2 years, the state created a Texas Education Code Chapter 28.029, and what that is that they established an advanced mathematics. You have it in Exhibit A, and it's a middle school advanced mathematics program with the intent to advance the number of high school math courses or advanced math courses being offered. So if you compare that to the following page, if you look at the 7th grade, so they identify the students based on their performance in the 5th grade. So when they go into the 6th grade, the top 40th percentile goes in there, and those students receive 6th grade math instruction and part of the 7th grade math instruction, but they take the 6th grade STAR test. This year is the 2nd year of that cohort. So this year, they take the rest of the 7th grade content plus the entire 8th grade content. So even though they are in the 7th grade, they actually took the 8th grade STAR test. And so in Exhibit A, the 2nd page, you're able to see that there were 57 students in the 2nd row, where you see that 7th accelerated 8th grade STAR. So we had 57 students that participated in that cohort. Out of those 57, we had 82% at the approaches level, 54% at the meets level, and 9% at the masters.
I don't know if we
What
have that.
this is, go ahead.
You
don't know
have
where
it
we
right
have it.
here,
Sorry,
it's a
Johnny.
separate one, and it has
It's
an
in
A.
Exhibit
Right
A, in page 2.
Right here.
Thank you.
That what that is it's notice that
So you
I
can,
guess the easiest way to see it, notice the 197 and 2025 for 6th grade, and if you notice the 141 in 7th grade, you're missing a lot of kids. So the question is, where did he go? And so those students that you're missing 57 to be exact, are taking an advanced math class. And because they're taking an advanced math class, it was structured since the moment they entered 6th grade. You get the data from 5th. And now that they've already received instruction for all of 7th grade and all of 8th grade, now they're taking that 8th grade assessment. And that's why you see a drop in the number of students that are taking it at 141, because your top 40th percentile students are not taking their grade level test, they're taking an advanced one. And so that's what this Exhibit A is demonstrating of.
Good thing we have the paper.
Okay, see y'all later.
So my question is, at least we have the paper copy. We're good.
As an entire grade level, how did the 7th graders do? And that's where you can see that cohort at the bottom. You see that 42% on that 2nd page, right in purple. That third, the very last row where it says 7th grade. Including your top 40th percentile students, 42% of our 7th graders were successful on the respective assessments that they participated in. And so now when you think of that 42 in mind, and you want to see it cohort-wise, then you can go ahead and look at that 68% and compare it to that 42. But you can also compare it as a grade level, that 44 compared to that 42. Now, 7th grade test is a very unique assessment because of the standards that lie within the 7th grade. There's a lot of math standards that are only taught in the 7th grade, and it's the most unique grade level because of the very specific teas that are only taught in that grade level, versus most of the other standards in math grow upon each other and they get more complex. Not in the 7th grade. They have specific standards that are only in that specific grade level. When you look at the Algebra 1, we also have the 8th grade, and again, if you want to see a true picture of how did the entire 8th grade do, you can see that also on Exhibit A. You'll be able to see that 58% of our 8th grade students, that includes the Algebra 1 performance, 58% were at the approaches and 28% at the meets and 7% at the masters. So that encompasses the entire 8th grade cohort.
any questions about the math part of junior high?
I do have a question, not about, this final score, about the benchmark. How are we doing? Do we have an idea that we were going to get a 25, or we're not doing well?
And I know Ms. Garza wasn't here, so she can't answer that. I am going to, at the junior high, David, can you share, what was your last benchmark? Was it similar to this?
We did struggle with the seventh grade, and one of the biggest reasons is this was the true first cohort that got to experience this jump. So the sixth graders, current sixth grade going to seventh, are already being introduced to these seventh grade teaks.
Okay.
These seventh graders that just went through going to eighth did not get that same experience because we just adopted Bluebonnet.
Right.
So it's pretty much like going from, like you're trying to jump elite without that pre-practice. And so that's what did hurt them, and we did see those, and what we did is we went back and we redid our modules to try to sprout in some of these
And
teams.
what about our benchmarks for reading? Were they similar?
For reading was similar, reading was
Yeah.
So, okay. Usually, you know, when we're benchmarking and then we get the final score, sometimes it is a surprise and sometimes it isn't. I guess my question, were you surprised by your math score?
I was hopeful because on the map growth, we were seeing one type of data, and on our
Okay.
benchmarks, we were seeing, so it was kind of hard to know which data to go off,
Yeah.
because they were not jiving for
And,
us.
and we're
I
gonna
did
talk
ask- yeah.
about that.
And I did ask Ms.,
Mhm.
you know, Mrs. Torres, obviously I'm not familiar with map growth, never did map growth. So I asked her, is there a correlation between map growth and this? And there really isn't, you know, so, okay, thank you.
So science scores have not been released. We are waiting, July 31st. What we do have is the social studies, and you can see that, for the most part, it's, stayed stable.
Now, one of the things was, that they send us for science is, likely passed, zone of uncertainty, likely didn't pass, but you don't know where the cutoff's gonna be. So we really have no idea there, where exactly we're gonna fall.
And in regards to social studies, we are looking at the different item types. For example, there are short constructed responses. They are also questions where it's a two-part types of questions. So we are looking very closely at the design of the assessments to provide that ongoing support this coming year.
And that is where I jumped ahead last time. About 42% you said are questions like that. So if you do nothing but give multiple choice benchmark test or multiple choice test, you're not going to prepare for 42% of the test. And so that's something that Ms. Garza has been sharing with us when she reviewed some of that.
So this is the early college high school, English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and US History. And it's similar, the purple being the approaches, and then the blue being the meets, and the green being the masters. So when you see that 61% versus that 54%, and then of course that 39 to that 33. Similar 66 to that 70 for English 2, and 48 compared to that 49. So you do see that big jump in English 2. Algebra 1, 66 to 70, 22 to 21. So it kind of stayed stable in the Algebra 1. Biology and US history for the most part also very stable. One of the things that we are looking further though, is we want to make sure that we address retesters. We've already sat down with campus administrators at the high school, and we've discussed the different ways that we're going to try to provide that support. Because when you look just completely at first-time testers, you can see that there's actually, when you look at retesters, there's 42 students in English 1 that are taking this test for at least a second, if not more times. And so that's what we're really gonna hone in this year, on being able to try to bring down those retesting numbers, specifically in English 1 and English 2. The numbers for retesting in algebra, biology, and US history aren't really as high. But if you go to the previous slide, Notice in English 1, we are at a 54, but go ahead and, no, the next one. When we look at the first time testers, I would need to go back and look at it, being able to see it actually does bring down that percentage. And so again, the impact that 42 students, especially when you look that out of the 42, only 9 of them were successful. And the same idea, it also brings that meets level, and the same thing with that English 2. Any questions on that? Now it's by demographics. I'm gonna let you look at it so that you can kind of see there are a few areas that we continue to struggle with in demographics. This is for reading English language arts. The areas that we continue to struggle with is our English learners and our special ed population. And it's right across the board. Here it's the same report, but 3rd through 5th, so that you can kind of see which one stands out. For example, really quickly, you can see that the migrant stands out in the 4th grade. And then, of course, the special ed also in the 4th grade. You can also see that 3rd grade doing phenomenal for your English learners. Same chart, just presented a different way so that it can kind of show you really quickly on how the performance is. Go ahead.
I know it's not a question, but it's, as long as I can remember, we've always been low in those two those two sub-pops, our bilingual students and our special ed. And I feel for them because it's like, besides tutoring, what do we do, you know? And I'm just wondering, what do other districts do? I mean, it's like, this is something, like I said, ever since I've been principal, and I know you guys have seen it, you know.
So we have some, and you can review that. We have some strategies that we've talked about. I know that when we looked at the test, and I think Ms. Garza shared some of this, but we know that the intervention time, what we do during that intervention time makes a lot of difference. Mm-hmm. With the ACE time, we have 500 kids in the district that are in ACE that get an academic hour. What are we doing during that academic hour from the very beginning? Talking to Aleida, for example, because she has the majority of the bilingual, talking about starting that tutoring not in the spring, but from the very, very beginning. So there's a lot of things that we've already talked about that we're going to do very different this year, because we have to, because this is not where we want to be.
And I'm assuming the special ed had to take the regular STAR, because I remember you were there little and they had to do the whatever, so many groups.
Yes.
So that's out, right? Okay.
Now it's based on eligibility, right?
Well, it's only 2 tests now, just your alt and your STAR, that's it.
And that's it,
There's no modified version.
like it
anymore.
used to be.
Unless students qualify for the alt.
Yeah, and that's just, you're less than 1%.
So they have to pass basically a regular STAR
Yes.
test, even though they're grade level.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Similar patterns can be seen here. And notice the migrants in the 7th grade, also the migrants in the English learners. And similar for English 1 and English 2. This is a similar report, but now it's looking specifically in math. Similar concerns, English learners and their special ed. You continue to see here in migrant, notice that 5th grade has a higher success than the others for migrants in the 5th grade. And, no, you're fine. Then you can see the math at the middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th, and algebra 1. Notice that 7th grade is an area that they are struggling in. Our science, July 31st, social studies, biology, and U.S. history.
Sorry, ma'am, let me just.
Then we, okay, I wasn't laughing at you, ma'am. going down, go ahead.
So here, this is the social studies, bio, and U.S. history. We currently do not have any data for the 5th grade and 8th grade science. This is by cohort. You can kind of see the color coding. This one at the approaches level. If you're able to see that 3rd grade, that 82 with that yellow going down to 81, and the 4th grade in 2024 to that 75 in 2025 to that 67 in 2026. And you can see that similar pattern in blue. Those 4th graders in 2023 at 72, 68, 68, and then that increase ultimately this year in 2026. Any questions on that one? No. Then we have the cohort by math. 82, 83, 73 for that third grade group that started in 2023. Ultimately, that 61. Again, remember Exhibit A, going back to Texas Education Code, Chapter 28.029. When you see that 25, again, keep in mind that your top 40th percentile students took an advanced math course when we're looking at that cohort.
Ma'am, real quick, on that 25%, I know we talk about the top 40% that are, so that's the 50 kids, right? So we're still left with 141.
41.
And out of that 141, we're still only getting 25%, right? So, or 25 kids that passed, which out of the 80 that were still left over, am I reading that correct?
So we had 141 students
Mhm.
that were in the 7th grade. Out of the 141, 35 were successful. That's correct.
So then the difference is why we struggled because of the pregame that David talked about, right? That they weren't ready for it or they didn't have access to it, or what was the reasoning that we had so many not be successful?
So a 7th grade has TEKS that are unique to the 7th grade, and it's completely unique.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what we're talking. That's what he mentioned earlier, correct? That they weren't used. Okay, I just want to make sure I was tracking along as far as the difference. Okay, got you.
So one of the things we talk about, if we know those are unique, what are we gonna do different than we've done in the past? Because apparently they're not getting it. So during that intervention time, are we going to have to hone in on those particular TEKS because they've never had it before, and this is the first time that they're gonna have it? And, only 25% are getting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I was
Yes.
tracking along with the information. Okay.
So we do have the signs there, but notice July 31st for 2026. So as soon as, and then we do have the social studies. There is a slight increase from 42 to 46. And we've already kind of reviewed the EOC, but here it is completely in a one page so that you can kind of see as a whole how did they do. So you see that 70, the 59, the 61, and the 56 for English 1, and so forth. We did separate the Algebra 1 8th graders to the Algebra 1 high school so that you see if you're strictly looking at the high school, how are they performing or are they being successful?
We never had our scores released this late, right, in July, have we?
So what happened, the reason they haven't released is they re-quoted the science standards.
Oh.
This past year, they only tested the standards that were in both years. So they haven't established actual standards or performances for each level, and that's why they haven't been released.
So basically the passing standard.
Yeah, they haven't established passing standards for science because of the new TEKS that are being implemented. So this, think of this as kind of like combined, go to the previous please. When you look at this one, for example, the 70, it's at the approaches. But the 70 also includes the students that were at meets, and it also includes the students that were at masters. The next slide, what it does is it separates them. So you see that 44%, That means that 100 minus 44 being what, 56% of our students were successful. And you're gonna get the 56 at 22 of them were strictly at approaches, that 31% were at the meets and 3% at the masters. So it's the same report, just viewed it differently so that you can kind of see if we were to give this student was at approaches, not a cumulative.
And remember, we did this slide a year or
Let's
two
just say this,
ago.
looks like the slide Ms. Casas
Yes.
asked for.
Yes, that's why this slide is there, because it was trying to see how that breakdown was.
So we are looking at language domains because 10% of our accountability in domain 3 does look at our performance in TELPAS for our English learners. You can kind of see by grade level at the district how they did in listening, whether it's beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high. Same thing for speaking, reading, and writing. Ultimately, they're going to be looking at composites. So if you the next slide kind of shows you how many make growth. The idea is for our students to move, say, from beginner to intermediate, or from intermediate to advanced, advanced to advanced high. You're able to see by grade level how many met growth in that first column, how many did not meet growth in that second column. Overall, the total number of students that tested both years, and ultimately the percent of students that met growth by grade level. And then the targets being in the end. So for example, in the first grade, the target is 40. We had 60% of our students meet or grow.
I need a little bit of reteach.
Go ahead.
To exit a student from bilingual, they still have to pass a STAR and get advanced on their TELPAS, correct?
If they're in third grade and above, yes, ma'am.
So first and second, we can't look at exit, I guess, that's what I'm asking.
You can. I'm not sure exactly how early we exit. Our program is early exit. It's my understanding that we do look at second grade as an option.
Okay. Just wondering.
Usually it's the third grade, I think, and up, but every once in a while I think we've had, but for the most part it's third grade up.
And these students are in the bilingual program where there could be some parent denials also.
It's both, ma'am. These students are any student that is an English learner, which includes the denials.
Okay, thank you.
The next slides, I'm not gonna go into detail, but you're able to see how each of the campuses did. You can see it by domain, but really what we're looking into as we're looking at our plans is percent-wise. Yeah, are our students meeting those growth targets? So that's Sanchez. I'm gonna give you a little bit of time so that you can kind of review Dominguez. Sam Houston. Go previous. Notice though that for the most part, your Sanchez and Dominguez do have less English learners, and Sam Houston having the bulk of our English learners. We do have also Green broken down, and last Lafayette Early College High School.
Any questions about goal 1? And again, this document that I gave you is a draft, but this kind of tells you how we're approaching the scores and what our plans are. We will meet with the principals so they can add, delete, talk about some of the things. Some are non-negotiable, but we'll be talking with them on the 15th of that. But I just gave you a draft so you can kind of see where we're going. The next goal that we will talk about is goal 2. Goal
Thank
2.
you, Ms. Garza.
Thank you, ma'am. Goal 2 is all climate and maintaining and improving the school climate. So if we go to the next one, the first area that we wanted to look at is attendance. So you can see overall, I did share that on a weekly board report. But this year so far, it looks like our attendance went up from a 92.93 to a 93.6. 1.6. So we did have better attendance, and that always helps us with not only funding, but students being in the classroom helps us. The next one. Dropout rate is something that, this is from the TAPER report, it's always 2 years behind. So this is 23-24. You can see that maroon is the Ferry ISD, and then the grayish is region, and the yellow is the state. And this is high school, and so we did go up from 22 to 23 to 23, 24. At that time, one of the things that we did to address that the past couple of years, and so hopefully that will come out as we present next year, is starting to, CNI and Mr. Flores at this time is the one that used to address this, is starting to address the student success monitoring team, finding these students throughout the year, instead of waiting when we come back and having a few months. So he would be on top of that. You can see at the next one, Green Junior High as well. We jumped from a 0.2 in 23-24 to a 1.6. And so talking to junior high administration and looking at, there was a family that we found and brought them back. Sometimes it's foster that we can't find where they go, or if they leave and go to Mexico, we have no way to follow them. So again, trying to find out sooner than later, because we are above state and region at that 1.6. So that's something we are focusing on. That was 23-24. Questions about the dropout attendance? The next area is goal 3. Goal 3 is all the parents continue to support parent and community engagement. So the next slide, I do want to give a shout out to our parents. One of the things that the board has shared is we always get back very few surveys from parents. And so it's amazing what genes can do. And so we said, if we get so many surveys back, then they will be able to, the staff will be able to wear jeans for the month of May. I think it was the last week of April. So if you look at our total, high school got 780, 788. Last year they only got 100. Green 572, last year 388. Dominguez 431, last year 387. Sanchez 376 were sent out. They got 358, last year 215. So we had a great turnout. Julie wasn't so happy because it took her forever to tally all that. But I can tell you, when you say, how do your parents feel, you really feel like now we have a lot of comments. And so if you look at the next page, when we see the percentages here, we feel like this is probably 80 to 90% of our population of parents that completed these. And so 97%, 97, 97, 95, 98, 98, 97, and 97. So overall, they pretty much stayed where they were last year or went above. So even though we had a smaller sampling last year, we find the percentages to be very similar. The next slide. Here we asked, do you think your child's instruction is excellent, good, fair, and poor? 52% excellent, 42% good, 6% fair, and 0.004 poor. So we actually had a fewer percentage of poor, a little bit more good, but that's, again, almost all of our parents.
Was there a pattern in the comments?
Yes, so we met already. We took out items that we felt every campus is talking about. Communication, it always tends to be at the very top. We're going with Parent Square, we're trying to do different things with communication. Communication is always way at the top. I think that was, I'm looking, I remember that one. Discipline is something that they always, talk about a little bit. Oh, another one was, behaviors of certain, kids and things like that. I think that was another one. Can y'all think of anything else? Some of the major topics in the parent? Custodial. Some of it was about cleanliness, and so that's something we're having to address as well.
What did they say? I know they're saying improved communication, but was there anything specific about?
Some of them want more open houses. We had a couple of comments like that, Some of them just, just just overall communication, like knowing when things are gonna happen. We put the calendars up last year, so, you know, a month and ahead of time, you know when there's things happening at your campus. Overall, different comments, I can share those with y'all if y'all wanna see. Overall, we've summarized all of them, so if y'all are interested, I can share the comments with you.
I'm just curious.
The last ones that I looked at were the staff ones, so it's been a while since I've looked at the parents. We just did the staff as well. If you look at the next slide, and again, family and community engagement, we had a little over 4,000 migrant attendees. Parent conference, since we went to campuses, the numbers really increased. We had more that attended, because when we had the district parent conference the year before, we only had 97. Literacy nights, we really kept track of that, but this year we had 377. And then parent engagement with Senate Bill 12, we have to have 2 parent engagement nights, and the one in the fall. We had some parents come in and some phone calls made, but we had a total of that one day from 2 to 5, 900 and something, either telephone calls or parents that came in. More parents come in elementary than they do secondary. Secondary is more phone calls. We also send out pulse surveys 3 times a year. We send them out in October, February, and May. The goal here is to get 100% from every department, because we want to know what they're thinking. The goal also is, if there's a problem in October, we shouldn't see it in February. If there's a problem in February, we shouldn't see it in May. We want new things. When we see that they start getting very specific about little things, that's a good thing, because there's not overall problems. You know, and so we did survey, we give a summary to the principals, and then they take that back and make adjustments. And so you can see how many we had returned in October, February, and May. We need to work on central office. They probably have the least turned in.
Uh-oh.
And then goal 4.
Yes, Goal 4 focuses more on the initiatives for technology. One of the initiatives that we worked on was the device lifecycle management, where we replaced student Chromebooks, staff laptops, and interactive displays according to a structured replacement schedule, or we were also flexible with replacing a device if needed. We also worked on the cloud-based device management, which is a streamlined software that deploys all our programs, our software deployment, and enhances security. We also worked on cybersecurity enhancements, which is, we participated in Region 1 cyber initiatives to strengthen endpoint protections and antivirus coverage, and then we also implemented email phishing to reduce any cyber threats throughout the district. We also provided ongoing cybersecurity awareness training for all staff, and then we also conducted regular security audits and vulnerability assessments. And in addition to that, we also did security and access controls. One of the things that we implemented this year was a multi-factor, or not that we implemented it this year, but we made sure that everybody has the multi-factor authentication for all staff to improve account security. And then cybersecurity preparedness is to maintain, and really, Mr. Avella worked on an emergency operation plan for cybersecurity. And then also improving our network infrastructure through the E-rate funding.
Mr. Vela also has a Chromebook replacement cycle, and so he sent it to me today. I haven't even opened it up again, but he did that last year. So he says, this is how many Chromebooks each year that they're dying, we need to replace. They're dying, so we brought that last year. We'll bring another set to you again, and so we constantly have to be replacing those. Also looking at, sometimes we need laptops instead of Chromebooks, because that's something that we're looking at, because some of our dual classes, a Chromebook doesn't make it. So looking at needing to do that. So that's something else that he works on. He works on drops. He works on making sure that internet is accessible throughout the campuses. So they have done a good job with that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. The last goal is our career in technology and certifications and our college and post-secondary opportunities. So if you go to the first one, the first slide, you can see that we had 431 students that were enrolled in AP classes, and 400 actually took the test. That's down a little bit, but you're going to see our dual is up. So we knew when we offered dual that our AP would go down a little bit, and I'll share that data with you. On the next slide, this is always a year behind, but we want to show you, we'll get this sometime, Dr. Leal, July, June, July. We'll get our AP results, but these are the students that take the AP exams, and then credit is some schools accept 3s, some only 4s and 5s, and it just kind of depends on where you go, but that's how they do. The most successful one on this particular page is the English language and composition. The next page, you can see we had 7 with the US government, 9 with US history, and 8 with the world history, and you can see the ones that are scoring the 3, 4, and 5, and that's where we want them to be. The next slide. Dual enrollment. Last year, we had a total of 331 hours. This year, 374, so we did increase the number of hours that the students are receiving with dual. The next slide. Certifications, so we separated them this year to job ready and skill based. And so we're trying to push more job ready. As we start to build the CT building, we're going to look at that. As they were hiring, we're changing the position to be more job ready than skill based. But you can see here how many certifications. Phlebotomy more went with the patient care technician. We had that dental assistant with ACE. We had security officer, that's a pathway. We really increased the welding to 31. I believe it was single digits last year, and this year we had 31 welders. So that was a big increase. And you can kind of go through 31 CCMA, more than the phlebotomy. We had more wanting to get that. Cosmetology at that point, 8. And then CDL and the forklift, we had 6. The next page, these are skill-based, and those are how many drones and Microsoft SafeServe and so forth. And again, our focus is to try to lean more toward the job ready more than skill-based as we move forward. The next slide, CCMR outcome bonus. So in 2020, we received 77,000. Remember, they have to pass a TSI. They also have to get a certification. So it's a combination. You get different funding depending on if you're economically disadvantaged, non-economically, or special ed. Then the next year we went up to 78,000. Then 79,000. I'm sorry. Then 75. Then 178, and anticipating 194. So having more students pass the TSI and get that certification, and they in turn take these funds and pretty much put it right back into getting more students to pass the TSI. And then the next slide. SAT, ACT. So the district mean with the class of 2024, again, we're always a couple of years behind here. The district SAT went up a little bit above the state, 18.7. The state is 19.3. Stayed almost the same, down 0.1 from the year before. Recommended program and our different programs, and you can see where we are here. The state, region, and Fairleigh ISD. So again, we had the student job fair. One of the things we added this year was an online component as we invited people to come in to take applications. A lot of people said, we don't do in person, it's all online. I can tell you HEB is one that you have to do a video. You have to apply, you do the video, and then they look at that and they determine from that who they're going to interview. So there's a lot now that don't do the in-person. So they had tables, they had people, staff assisting to help complete those online. So that was something we did a little bit differently. Addition of the early college associate's degree in allied health, that is something that we presented to the upcoming 8th grade and is accessible. And then the senior reality check, we added the self-defense component. So that is one. And then early college dual degree, we currently had, Mrs. Castillo, I believe, attended along with the high school admin and Dr. Leon, we had 7 grads. We have 27 coming up in the class of 2027, then 28, 30, and 39. So now, next year will be the first year of our cohort, is that correct?
That's correct.
So we will, everything else was dual to degree, see what we could do with the students, but the cohort is coming up next year. And then that's coming up later. Any questions about the CNA, Comprehensive Needs Assessment?
A lot of information.
All good.
So now we're moving to discussion of Superintendent Performance Goal 1, Activity 3, map growth.
So one of the areas in the superintendent performance goals is you wanted to know, okay, we have the STAR test, but what is map growth and how did we do with map growth? So Ms. Garza is going to, am I doing this? Are you doing this? I'm doing this. Ms. Garza is not doing this. So one of the questions that I always have, you know, what is the difference between map growth and STAR? So STAR, for a student to pass, I'm gonna say 7th grade math, they have a 7th grade TEAT that they have to master in order to show growth, and they have to show growth there. For a MAP, I can be a student that starts out in 1st grade, and if I make it to 2nd grade, even though I'm a 7th grader, MAP is gonna see that they have the growth. So it's not based upon are you on grade level, it's based upon are you making growth. And so it's very different. So you can see here at Sanchez Elementary, tells the subject, where they were at the beginning, end of the year, the number of students, but the main problem is you have the number of students who met, but the percentage that met that growth from where they started out. Overall, 62% met the required growth of the assessment. Then the next one, Dominguez, their total was also 62%, and you can see per grade level and per subject area. And then Sam Houston was at 63% for map growth. Then we go to Green, overall 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You can see the percentages at the end. Their growth was 43%, and high school 55%. So this is what we use for TIA to show whether a teacher will qualify for having the correct growth that they need for their students.
I have a question. By no means am I against TIA. I really would like for those teachers to get that paycheck, whatever amount it is, next spring. Is this taken away from STAR instruction though, the map? I mean, I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is.
Okay.
I mean, I think, you know, and you have the math going on. I know high school tested their end of the year the last week or the next to the last week because they were STAR testing, then they were AP testing. And so my concern is how many students, you know, whether it's high school, junior high, where when you're testing at the very end and you've had all those other tests and they know this isn't, you know, for a grade or this is, how many give it their 100% to say, I'm gonna really try on this test? That's just my concern. And maybe they do. Maybe you can say, you know, maybe elementary you say, yes, they're really trying, or some do, some don't. But when you're benchmarking TELPUS and you're benchmarking MAP and you're benchmarking STAR, it's overwhelming. So that is something that we're looking at as we move forward.
I do remember one year, and I don't believe you were super at the time, we got a calendar of testing for the first 6 weeks, and that's all I saw was testing. And I questioned the administrator and I said, so when are we teaching? I mean, we're constantly testing. When are you teaching? So that was a concern that, I mean, like I said, obviously you can't get rid of TIA. I mean, that will be attracting, you know, staff to our district because we are offering that program.
But we can look at, do we want to change the criteria, not this year, but for the
Right.
following year, You know, we were trying to use maps so that across the board it was the same. It didn't matter if you were STAR testing or
Right.
not STAR testing. But you could always say, we're gonna, for STAR testing, we're gonna do this, or we're gonna use map, but then is it fair? And, you know, so that's something that we will get a committee together and look at and say, is it too much? And then we know testing's gonna change after this year. It's not gonna be the same STAR.
Yeah, it'll be
So you
three
will
tests.
have two tests, and then you will have something similar to STAR that they'll compare to the STAR the year before. And we don't even really know what that looks like, so, maybe this is the last year of all of that testing, we'll see.
I mean, because we saw some dips in some areas regarding the reading and the math, and I'm wondering, was it?
Because
You know,
we
just
had to do
wonder.
all this.
Yeah, you just
Yes.
wonder. I mean, was this a factor?
And we
Yeah.
will discuss that and talk to the principals and say, what do we need to do? We need to track the students. I need to know if Johnny is, sorry. You changed names.
Masters, master level.
Master.
But, you know, so we'll look at that, you know, and we already had almost a full day, you know, meeting to discuss all of this, and we're gonna be meeting more just to see what do we have to do. You know, we did talk about it, you know, with the principals, with myself, with all administrators. The state says you have to have 75,600 minutes, but the state doesn't tell us, besides high school, necessarily what that looks like. We can do whatever we need to. We can be creative as much as we need to, and within high school, within limitations, we can do some things also. So it's on us to say, this didn't work, what are we gonna do? You know, because they're very competitive, you know, and when they get scores and they don't like them, I can tell you that, you know, they're very competitive. And nobody likes their scores not to be where they want them to be.
Definitely.
So we will get better next year.
I just remember, I had a few teachers approach me, and they think they may get the, you know, the TIA, and they were just so, you know, so obviously you don't wanna touch that, but I just wondered, you know.
Yeah, what do we need to do? Yeah.
Right, okay, just, thank you.
Any other questions on the map?
Any questions on the map? No, we're good? Okay, so the next item is for Superintendent Performance Goal 3, I agree for discipline.
Yes, good evening, Board President, Board members, and Superintendent Ms. Flores. Today, we wanted to go over some of the DAP placements. We did a comparison from 2024, 25 to 25 to 26. As you can see, the DAP placements have.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys, and we do appreciate you all.
We do. Keep working hard. Not you.
Yeah.
So you can see that the numbers have gone down from last year to this school year. We would, you know, our kids do have some behavioral issues that we have to address, and sometimes our options are, the only option is DAP placement. So you can see the numbers have gone down. DAP placements, a lot of them are because of chronic misbehavior, THC, the vaping, sometimes the fighting, the disrespect, but one of the things that we have been working with our administration is the consistency of the discipline. You know, we are consistent with our discipline, and so some of these students that are in here for DAP, it's a chronic discipline, the cognitive misbehaviors. They just are not focused in their instruction, and they are just displaying other things. So when they are placed in DAP, we work with them on, you know, we have counselors that come in, whether they're high school or Greens counselors, and they come in and they do that initial assessment to see why they're there. Why are they being there? Is it because of the THC, or is it because they were fighting? And why are you fighting? What's causing you to fight, or the constant disrespect from the teachers when they're being placed in DAP?
When we had the legislative changes, they changed some of the things from mandatory DAP to like ISS. So that changed some of this. So you might see more students in ISS for first-time situations that it used to be mandatory DAP, but now you can keep them on campus. They still might get 10 days, but they're on campus where the teacher can stop by the very first time. And then after that, well, then they may end up in DAP. So we saw that big change with the legislative changes.
Yes. And then the next graph we'll see is the bullying incident reports, and these are verified. We do get, our principals do get reports of bullying all the time, but after a thorough investigation, and after, doing the behavior bullying checklist, it comes out that it is not bullying. As you can see, our numbers have gone down, especially in the green area, in green, because once they do that investigation and they ruled out everything, they've done their talks with their students and with parents, they realized that it wasn't bullying. It didn't define the definition of bullying, but it was addressed.
With DAEP, what are some of the protocols that we have? Like, are they allowed? I know they can't have their phone on campus, but are their phones still on them?
At DAP,
They are picked up.
They are picked up. Okay. So do we want them to make sure that
Yes.
we get them? Okay.
Before they walk into that classroom,
Yeah.
they're walked.
I know when we were at the DPC meeting, we talked about discipline, and you mentioned that they're now doing modules that, that it's kind of changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So some of our students do make poor choices, and that's the consequence of DAP placement. So why are you there? So our counselors that are assigned there, they do an initial assessment, and they say, okay, why are you there? And sometimes they just need to vent and talk about it, like, yeah, well, I found this vape, or it's my mom's and my dad does it, this type of thing, or I just like to do it because it helps me out. So we have them do that initial assessment with the counselors, and then using that program Everfi, we align modules for them so that they can counsel, they can help them, and they make the good choices. And it's the counselor sits with them, does the initial assessment with them, works with them when they are there with them, and then they're to finish the module at the end of the week. So then the counselor comes back and says, okay, Lillian, what did you do? Okay, good, let's talk about it. Okay, the next module is making better choices on this. So what we're trying to implement for next school year is that every student that walks into DAP, once they do an initial assessment, they will be required to complete a required set of modules that will focus on based on their assessment. But yes, they do get the counseling that they need.
And I think a lot of it too is just making it so uncomfortable when they're there that they don't want to go back. And I think that's key. And I say that because I was a DAP teacher, and we had a bunch of them where the teacher before would allow them to sleep, do whatever they want, not finish their work. So who wouldn't want to go back to DAP, right? And I'm not saying that Sal's doing that. I know he's doing a good job, because obviously you can tell in the numbers, right? But I think if we continue with that to where they don't want to go back, on top of the counseling and all that, I think he's going to be where they're going to be required to finish their work before they even go back to school. If the teacher assigns work and it's not done, guess what? You're not going back to school until you complete the work that was given to you. Things like that to make it uncomfortable for them to where they're not going to want to have to go back. You know what I mean? On top of making the right decisions.
Yes. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. And the last item is discussion of superintendent performance goal 4, activity 2, the bond project.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board President Castillo. For the bond projects, again, some of these we talked about at last week's board budget workshop. Starting with the baseball and softball complex, I'm sure if y'all pass by there, there's a little bit more progress that y'all seen. We are bringing a couple of change orders for those, and I'll discuss those on the discussion and action item. On the awnings and canopies, they did start about a couple of weeks. They started taking the exact measurements on those to start working on those. If you all recall, I believe it was last month's board meeting or the previous one, we did bring a change order to add some additional canopies at the high school, at San Houston. And so they are getting started on those. The goal for them is, I believe I mentioned it last time, they are gonna start at Green, because that's the one that's gonna require the most, drilling of the posts, and then from there they'll go on to high school and then the other schools. The goal for them is to finish it before the first day of school. So those projects tend to be a little bit on the quicker side. And similar to that is the digital marquees. We're also bringing a change order for that one. We've been communicating with them. Again, the lead time on those is about 6 to 8 weeks from the manufacturer. And for them, it takes them about 2 weeks. It'll take them about a week to do the demo and prep, and then about another week to do the installing and training. and they will provide training to whether it's the secretary and or principal or AP on those. On the playgrounds, same thing with the playgrounds, we've been talking with them. Right now, the preliminary timeline is they are gonna be coming around mid-July. And again, since it's only at 2 campuses, they'll be working at one campus and then the other. Each campus will take them 2 weeks, they said. Again, 1 week to prep, to remove everything, and then another week to do all the assembling of the equipment. And so that's gonna take them about a month, again, because it'll be 1 week, 2 weeks at one campus, the demo, the installation, and then another 2 weeks at the other campus. So that one, depending which campus goes second, they might be working on that when the kids come back on that. But, they should have it for the majority of the school year. The next one is the gym bleachers at Dominguez and at Green. I only put those 2 because those we are getting done in the summer. The high school, if you all recall, we're waiting till next summer for those, but those, they've already come and done some measurements. So those they'll be trying to get done also in July. So a lot of them will be working in July. The next one is the HVAC assessment at the 3 elementary campuses. So I know that Mr. Marin has been meeting with Ethos and their engineer, and I believe with Texas Chiller System as well. They have access to our control systems, remote access to those through the network. And so I know that they've begun their assessment on that, so we're hoping that in the next month or so, we'll have a report, and then that's really to help us determine what the issues are at the elementaries in terms of the heating. And then the other one, I know that we have some temperature control issues where some rooms may get too cold, some other rooms may get too hot. If you all recall, when we had the extra money, we had replaced the controls. So we don't know if it's the controls that they just haven't been programmed correctly, or if it's something else. So that's what the assessment's gonna do for those.
And that's why Texas Chiller is there, because they're the ones that put in the controls. And so we just put those in, so there's
Yeah, so we're working with them because we're telling them, hey, these are brand new. We don't know if they finished the job and if they're still under warranty, because, the district did pay a pretty good amount on those. And like Ito said, we don't wanna replace something that is still good. We wanna make sure that we're replacing something that needs to get replaced.
Right.
The next one is the CVEL facilities, the renovations. We're bringing to y'all an action item on that. We've selected a vendor, so we can move forward with that. We did make the priority on that to move special ed and DAEP. So then that could allow us to begin our conversations for the CTE building. Hopefully we begin that as soon as we come back in July and August. And then the last one is the roofing at the different campuses. I know that y'all seen a bit of a pause at the high school. I believe it was also in May when we brought the change order to do the side panels. So there's, at the high school, so they're saying that needs to go first before they put the top. So they've been working on those. They finalized the ones at ties. And like anything, they have, with the rain, there's been some additional leaks that they have found. So again, that's the silver lining, right? That with the rain, it may pause some of the projects, but it does help us know some of these places to address them. So they are working on all those. But once they do those, I was telling Mrs. Torres, we're hopeful that when we start back into school, there might be a lot of activity at these campuses. Like at the elementaries, like Sam Houston, you might see canopies and playgrounds and roofing going on at the same time. So it's just, we're hopeful that it's just in the fall or, at the beginning month or so, but, there'll be a lot of activity going on in those. And that's all we have right now for our bond projects.
Okey-dokey. There are 10 items on the consent agenda. The monthly tax report ending May 31st, 2026, a renewal of the workers' compensation insurance with TASB Risk Management Fund for fiscal year 26-27, the renewal of automobile liability and automobile physical damage insurance with TASB Risk Management Fund for fiscal year 26-27, renewal of school liability insurance with TASB Risk Management Fund for fiscal year 26-27, renewal of cyber liability and security insurance with TASB Risk Management Fund for fiscal year 26-27. Letter F, renewal of finance and student management software with Skyward for fiscal year 26-27. Letter G, approval for moving the regular board meeting from Monday the 13th of July to July 20th of 2026. Letter H, administrative regulations, number 15. I, audit management letter with Carr, Riggs, and Ingram LLC for external audit services for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2026.
Letter J, approval of bids and vendors for fiscal year 26-27 for fire extinguishers, fire and burglar alarms, teaching and office supplies and materials, awards incentives and promotional items district-wide, occupational therapy, physical therapy, janitorial, chemical and supplies, janitorial paper and paper products, plumbing, hardware supplies, materials and services, bus equipment and mechanic services, gasoline and oil products, refrigeration and air conditioning and hearing repairs and equipment, glass and installation, fencing services and supplies, electrical services, roof and repair services, locksmith services, and finally pest control. And do I have a motion to approve the items listed on the consent agenda? I have a motion from Mr. Zambrano. Do I have a second? A second from Mr. Briones. It's been moved and seconded to approve the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. Am I supposed to read all those?
I would have just said bids.
I thought it was just a motion to approve the consent agenda.
He had his hand
You
up.
tell me how to read everything. Anyway, first item to consider and possible action, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve district improvement plan goals for 26-27.
Okay, as Ms. Garza makes her way to the podium, this is the time of year that we ask you to approve our district improvement plan goals so that we can begin with the DPC committee of writing our activities. And so I'll turn it over to Ms. Garza.
So goal one is gonna remain the same, it has not changed, is to show progress towards closing the gaps. Goal two is your positive school climate. Goal three is to enhance parental and community involvement. Goal four is to secure technology systems and to expand our digital resources. And goal five is college and post-secondary and college career readiness.
I can tell you what is gonna change a lot are the activities under each goal. The goals pretty much stay the same, that is our goal, but when we bring the DIP, you're going to see quite a bit of changes under each activity.
It is the administrator's recommendation that the board approve the district improvement plan goals for the 2026-2027 school year.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the district improvement plan goals for 2026-2027.
Have a second? I have. Motion by Ms. Montalvo and a second from Mr. Zambrano. It's been moved and seconded to approve the district improvement plan goals for 26-27. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you,
Next item is, thank you, Ms. Garza. Next item is discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve change order 001 to amend owner contractor agreement with the Playwell Group Incorporated for the playgrounds equipment project at Sam Houston and Nomi Dominguez Elementary.
Thank you, Board President Castillo. This change order is to add the payment and performance bond fees, so we're adding 2% and 3% of the total project for each of the elementaries. So the total cost for it would be $11,544 with 41 cents.
And the cost were, when we did the board workshop, Mr. Cespedes anticipated these changes.
Yeah, so some of these that we brought to you, I know that, remember that we presented last week, we presented a list of all the projects and the amount on those. I had already anticipated these costs on those. This one, you know, we had done it, I think this project had been approved a couple of months ago. I had not brought the change order for this on the payment and performance bond. So now that we're getting started, we're asking them for those insurances. These usually have to be added. That's usually the normal cost on these, 2 to 3% on the total project cost. And that's just, it's required because it's a construction project. And this just covers us in case, you know, the company folds or the job is not done to satisfaction, we can go after them or use the insurance.
Questions? Motion?
I move we approve to amend the owner contractor agreement with Playwell Group, Inc. to include change order number 001 as presented.
And do I have a second? Second by Mr. Zambrano. It's been moved and seconded to amend the owner contractor agreement with Playwell Group Incorporated to include change order number 1 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve change order number 1 to amend owner contractor agreement with AA Electrical Signs for the district's digital marquee project.
Thank you, Board President. So this one we brought to the board last month. The amount that we have brought was an exact $450,000. So that was the amount that we have put in there. The reason for that was, you know, that now that we have to post the agendas 3 business days before. So when we posted the agenda, that was the amount that we anticipated, but when we opened up the bids, they came in at $467,518.43. So the difference was the $17,518. We did talk to them about possibly going down on that or changing it. They did give us an alternate option. They said that, if y'all know with the pixels, things like that, that we could go with a 10mm pixel, which is, it's still very good quality, but the one that we wanted to go was one that, you know, much better, much more cleaner look. And the reason for that is, you know, these marquees are gonna last, you know, more than 10 years, so we know that down the road, that'll be the standard out there. So we wanted to make sure that, you know, we can get ahead of it. So that was the amount, the difference, so we have to bring that as a change order.
Questions? Motion?
I move we approve to amend the owner contractor agreement with AAA Electrical Signs to include change order number 001 as presented.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Zambrano. It's been moved and seconded to amend the owner contractor agreement with AAA Electrical Sign to include change order number 1 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carried 4-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve RGO Roofing and Construction LLC from an interlocal purchasing cooperative to provide construction services for the district's renovation at the CEVille facility, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $350,073.50.
Thank you, ma'am. So this is one that we've selected, RGO Roofing, for $350,000. When we presented it last week, the place order that we had was around $395,000. So there's still a little bit of some room there. Now, of course, we might anticipate 1 or 2 change orders on this, you know, once they get into it. The majority of it is just gonna be basic, you know, repainting, redoing some of the flooring and adding some partitions in some of the wings, since we'll be moving in again, we're moving in CNI, special ed, and DAP. So this is, we're going with RGO. They are part of a co-op. Actually, we found out that the other one that we were working with was with Scoggins, but their contract with the buy board, I believe, had just expired. So otherwise, I mean, but they were a little bit higher than that, but this is the ones that we're going with. So far, we've had really great work with them with the roofing. We have, you know, every bi-week OAC meetings with them. They have a whole team of, you know, project manager, the safety manager, the person that does all their logistics, so we feel very comfortable working with them.
Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve RGO Roofing and Construction LLC from an interlocal cooperative purchasing method to provide construction services for the CEVille Facilities Renovations Project, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services for an amount not to exceed $350,073.50.
And do I have a second? I have a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve RGO Roofing and Construction LLC from an interlocal cooperative purchasing method to provide construction services for the CEVille Facilities Renovation Project, and to delegate the authority to the superintendent to enter into a contract approved by legal counsel for the district for such services, the amount not to exceed $350,073.50. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the purchase of band instruments with music and arts and Steve Weiss Music.
Why?
Weiss? Sorry, Steve Weiss Music.
So those are the 2 different vendors, Music and Arts, and then Steve Weiss Music. So this is to purchase approximately it's 29, and I said approximately because some of them, it's the instrument and then the stand that goes with it. So it's for 29 instruments in total. Here, what we're using is the instructional materials and technology allotment. That is a biennial allotment, so we get it every 2 years. So going into the 26-27 year, that's already the second year, so we already have a good idea of how many funds we have left. That's where we used to purchase a lot of our instructional resources, like Blue Bonnet, and some of the new social study and science materials. From there, we also used it, I know last year, actually in December, we brought to purchase some Chromebooks. And that, so now that we have a good idea how much funding is left over, we wanted to be able to address some of the needs that we have at band. So I know talking to Mr. Cardona, these will go to the high school, and then some of those instruments will go on to the middle schools. I know some of them are in pretty, you know, they have a need for them. So this, we already actually, we have to submit the request to TA first to make sure we can use it. So they actually already gave us the money. They approved it very quickly. We got the funding on Friday. And so now we have to bring it to the board because it is over 50,000. I don't know if there's any questions on the instruments or on the vendors.
So, on the equipment, is this in addition, or is this to replace?
It's a combination. Some of them will be to replace, because if you've seen, some of their instruments are pretty beat up. I know in here they included a tuba. That's one of the most expensive ones. So I'm talking to Mr. Cardona. Like I said, this is going to be replaced at the high school, but it could be maybe to add, because if you, I think I mentioned at the budget workshop. So for example, he's getting 30 extra more kids coming up from the 8th grade, so his high school band is going to be bigger because the number of seniors that graduated was less. So he might actually end up needing more. It just depends on what they play. But he does want to give some of those instruments that are in good condition to the middle school as well.
So like
So it
the
is a
trombone
combination.
is like $3,600.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, so it is a combination of those, but I'm pretty sure some of those he'll keep extra, because again, he's getting a bigger group coming up.
Okay.
Questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the purchase of band instruments with Musics and Art and Steve Weiss Music in the amount of $97,741.05.
And do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of band instruments with Music and Arts and Steve Wise Music in the amount of $97,741.05. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve change order number 2002 and change order 003 to amend owner contractor agreement with Scoggins Construction, INC, for baseball and softball complex project.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So change order number 2 that we're bringing here, again, these are for the baseball and softball complex project. It's to extend the safety netting. So right now the netting that we have goes up 60 feet on both sides. Those extend all the way up until the first base dugout, I'm sorry, the home plate and the visitor dugouts where they begin. So it does, and that's where it stops. So here what we're asking is to cover all the way through the through the dugouts all the way, so past that, maybe, you know, around maybe getting a little bit into the outfield. But this would be, because the dugouts will already have a safety net, but this is covering it all the way up to 60 feet.
Okay.
So it's just an extension essentially. Change order number 3 is just an additional concrete sidewalk. Once we redid the design of it, they want the dugouts on both sides to kind of extend out a little bit. So that one is for the concrete work that's gonna be on there, and that's for a cost, I believe it was a small cost, I believe it was $4,650. So the total for both change orders would be $54,650.
And that was included last week?
Yes, this one was included in what we had talked about. We do expect a couple of more change orders, but those will be coming out of the allowance. So that, remember, the project does have a contingency fund, and those will have to do more with drainage. But these are gonna, this is amounts, these will be added to the contract allowance.
Questions? Motion?
I move we approve to amend the owner contract agreement with Scoggins Construction Company, Inc. to include change order number 002 and change order number 003 as presented.
And do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve. Okay. I move that we approve to amend the owner contractor agreement with Scoggins Construction Company,
Incorporated to include change order 002 and change order 003, as presented. Any further discussion? No? Thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. The next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve additions, revisions, and deletions of the following local policies in the TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 127.
Yes, good evening. Update 127 really just pretty much helps align language. They want it to be more concise with our policy. There are 11 of them, and I want to go over some of them with you. The first one is BJCF, Superintendent Non-Renewal. It's recommended revisions to this local policy on non-renewal of a superintendent align with the language of DFBB. In other words, they want to align everything together relating to the accommodations of a disability. And if you can also see here on 27 and 28, they added 2 other non-renewal reasons to include in the update of 126. This is related to Senate Bill 12. So they added those 2 provisions for superintendent non-renewal. CAA is physical management goals and objectives, finance, ethics. All they did was clarify by adding a chart, revising the chart, and adding DHA for employees. It's all just basic alignment and clear language. DC, they removed the word designee, and they pretty much said the superintendent is the one that may delegate responsibilities to other employees of the district, but shall remain accountable to the board for performance of all duties. And they removed designee from there. DCB is, here we would always have licensed specialists in school psychology. Now they just call it psychologist. DCB. So here on the DHC, you can see that they did some changes. They added the Educator Code of Ethics to DHA. They added the DHA policy and made it into a separate Educator Code of Ethics. And they also added DHF, which is the gifts and solicitations. So they were just aligning everything.
Some of it's cleanup, but that way you can just see what you're approving.
So here on DP, it's personnel positions. And before, it would have principals' positions, responsibilities, and counselors and other staff. Now what they did was they took out DP and they put DPA for just principals, and they put DPB for counselors and others. So they separated the responsibilities. And then the EHBB, Special Programs Gifted and Talented, they added the selection here of the matrix and threshold, and they said if you're going to use it, then make sure that it's used. It's the use of scoring value based on race, ethnicity, sex, socioeconomic status, or disability shall be prohibited. You're not to use that based on that. Okay. And then FFF is student welfare, student safety. They added some components there as well for student safety. Added some types of misconduct that trigger parent notification requirements. So more language.
Questions at this time? Motion?
And here from the motion, I don't think we have to read them all, as long as you say that we approve update 127.
Okay.
Motion?
I move we approve, where did it go? Update 127. I was like, whoa, wait.
Do I have a second?
As presented.
As presented.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Santana. It's been moved and seconded to approve update 127 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. It is now 7:46 p.m. and we are moving into closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Thank you, sir. It is now 8:18 p.m. and we are now reconvened to open session.
Let the record show that the superintendent approved the resignations, retirements as presented by administration in closed session. Rudolph Reyes Jr., Josie Luna, and Nancy Laredo. And according to board policy DC local, the superintendent approved a 1-year probationary teacher contract for the following: Justin Trevino and Deborah Brongard. Any other motions?
Madam President, I move we offer the following contracts to new personnel for the 26-27 school year. Eric Bernal, 1-year probationary contract, and Priscilla Chavez, 1-year probationary contract.
And do I have a second? Second by Mr. Briones. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. District announcements.
We'll have Summer Leadership Institute June the 10th through the 13th. DPC meeting on June the 18th. The summer bash is scheduled from 5 to 7 p.m. on June the 23rd. There will be a special board meeting on June the 25th at 6 p.m. Central office will be closed for summer break starting June the 26th through July the 12th. There will be a Leadership Institute July 16th through the 17th. July board meeting for July 20th. Welcome back to school bash on August the 4th, and August the 7th we have convocation.
Thank you, ma'am. If there is no other business, I have a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Zambrano. Do I have a second? And a second by Mr. Briones. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. It is now 8:20 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
You got this email, but you might not see it.
I already gave it to him.
Yeah, I